for better or worse, has two Z's. A regular Z and a Z at the end. Gonzalez. Charlie Gonzalez. Gonzalez has two Z's. There you go. Okay, so because Charlie just got his meal, we're going to let him eat. And we're going to have some announcements first. Oh, we've got some people with announcements.
My card, somebody took my.
Don't take Peter's cards.
Does anybody know if there's some kind of event about civility at the Art Museum tonight? I wrote it in my schedule.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, what time?
Are you going to tell us?
Who wants this?
Hello. So the event at the Art Museum tonight is, I think the group is, I can pull up all the details if you want, but I think the group is called Beyond Civility. But it's about how our politics have become so polarized and the effect the impact that has on society and people who want to be involved. And so I also plan to attend that this evening. It's at the Art Museum. It's free. And I believe it is from 6 to 7:30.
6? Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
There we go, an informed person.
Hi, I just found out that the Freedom Center is free during February for Black History Month.
Ooh.
So if anybody's interested in going to that. And there's an exhibit called Implicit Bias. It's supposed to be very eye-opening if you go.
We had some training on implicit bias this week.
It's a test from Harvard University to take.
It's a test from Harvard University you can take. Bill has the microphone. Who has an announcement? Come on, we need more time for Charlie to eat.
You can say anything you like during this period. It's not just announcements now.
The word's gone out about American Promise quite a few times at the meeting and then with Peter's newsletter. But tomorrow night at the Chameleon in Northside, Azer Cole from the National Organization in Boston is coming to help us launch an American Promise chapter here in Cincinnati. So there's food at 7:30 at the Chameleon, and the program is from 7 to 8:30.
There you go. If you go to my website, you can see, I think it's the same speaker, isn't it? The national organizer for Move to Amend? No, it was a different speaker. Anyway, okay.
Alberta?
Yes.
I have one. The Westside Dems has their monthly meeting tomorrow, and David Pepper will be speaking regarding the results from the election in 2019-2020, Ohio, and what they plan on doing. It's held at Legends in Cheviot, and we have a social hour from 6 to 7, and then the meeting after that. So you're more than welcome, Westside Dems.
Go West Side.
Go West Side. And I saw Bill today, I saw Bill on Sunday at a movie. I went to a movie on Sunday called The Invisibles.
Right.
That was really interesting. It was about World War II people who lived through the Judenfrei era in Berlin in World War II. And they lived in the open and walked the streets at night and slept in cinemas during the day, just to keep alive for 2 years while they were allowed to be alive in Berlin, Germany. Amazing.
That was pretty eye-opening, wasn't it?
Wow, amazing.
That was part of the Jewish Israeli Film Festival, which I, for years, served on the committee for, but I wasn't on it this year. But there's one tonight, which is pretty interesting, since we're... you can keep eating, Charlie.
I got some in, and I'll wait until after for the rest.
Okay. Well, the one tonight is called Good Thoughts, Good Works, Good Deeds, and it's about Zubin Mehta, the conductor of the Israeli National Orchestra and also the LA Philharmonic and everything. And there's going to be a special feature because Louis Langray from the CSO is going to come and talk, and he's going to bring his principal harpist And the principal harpist with the Israeli Philharmonic and also violas. The first violist and the first violinist, and they're going to do live music as well. So, wow, should be a really nice night. And that is at
Jewish Community Center.
no, that is at the Kenwood Theater at 7 o'clock
Kenwood Theater.
tonight.
What time?
Tonight at 7.
Tonight at 7. If you're not going to Richard Azimus's program, which is also tonight at the Chameleon at 7.
Another announcement.
Okay, I think most of you probably know about this, but on Friday, Steve Shabbat is going to be having a town hall. Wow. And it is at 4 o'clock down at the Sailor Park Elementary School.
Still my beating heart.
Oh, my beating heart.
Homeowners get in for free, by the way.
And let me re-announce Peter. Peter here, raise your hand. And Peter has cards. And if you want an announcement in the newsletter for this week that goes out to how many people? 300 and something? 375 people. We have quite the newsletter.
What was the date of the Shabbat thing?
Friday,
Friday. Okay.
4 o'clock.
Now, I want to just tell you about this announcement here that looks just very similar to everything. There's one word difference. And it's because Ellen Beerholst and I have been working on updating our Facebook. And the Facebook is no longer going to be Greater Cincinnati Dems. We are going to be the Greater Cincinnati Democrats. We have 2 Facebook pages, and we're going to get down to 1 Facebook page.
2 more.
Okay, here we go. Marlena.
Hello, Marlena Brookfield, running for Cincinnati Public School Board this year. Just a few announcements. One of them, Donna, you covered for me about the town hall. And I wrote it on the card, so it'll go out in the newsletter. But also, I am having my big public campaign kickoff fundraiser on February 22nd from 7 to 9 at Westside Brewing. And the following day, March 1st, I am walking in the Bachfest parade. The organizers have told me there are no limits to how many people I can have in my group. So anyone that's interested, I put my email down to give to Peter, so it'll be in the newsletter. Just get in touch with me and let me know if you're interested, and I can give you the time, when and where. They haven't given me the staging location yet, but I will get that to you. Everyone's welcome. Thank you.
Repeat the 22nd.
You said
The 28th?
28, right.
The 28th is the public campaign kickoff and fundraiser at Westside Brewing.
Oh, I think it's the 22nd.
No, you said 22nd, honey.
Oh, I said 20, sorry.
I'm correcting you.
22nd is Steve Shabbat's town hall, so everybody go to Sailor Park Elementary. But on the 28th, come to Westside Brewing from 7 to 9.
And then if you're having something else,
And the Bachfest parade is Friday, March 1st, kicks off at 6 o'clock.
As if we don't all have enough to do here, folks.
If you've never done the Bachfest parade, it is insane. It's worth doing. It's amazing.
Elizabeth.
I think Senate Bill 23, the 6-week ban, is being fast-tracked currently in the Ohio Senate. So call your representatives and Senate against Senate Bill 23.
Any more?
How are we doing?
Looks like we're ready to go.
Okay, and now we come back.
Sorry, just not. I don't know how many of you heard 1A. I don't know how many of you heard 1A this morning with Joshua Johnson on WBXU?
Yeah, TBS.
TBS. He was interviewing Pete Buttigieg. It was so good. It was so good. Here was someone who spoke common sense, something we haven't heard for quite a while now. And I would recommend that if you missed it, you can go from tomorrow onwards onto the website and play it again for yourself. But it was well worth listening. And he's got my vote.
What did you talk about?
Well, you know, it was not an hour long, I guess about 45, 50 minute long, interview, and Joshua Johnson asked him everything. I think he's about 37 years old, the mayor of South Bend, Indiana, which he's completely turned around. He asked him about women's rights and guns and the fact he was gay, and touched all the sort of hot topics he could lay fingers on. And the guy just handled it with clear common sense. It's well worth listening to. He didn't use one bit of political BS. And it was like a nice cold shower. And it was just so refreshing.
What's his last
Now,
name?
his name is Buddha Judge. And I think it's spelled, but don't quote me on this, B-U-B-D-G-I-E-G. I mean, how do you get judge out of G-I-E-G? I don't know.
South Bend has a very large Polish contingency, so
You-
that's probably.
We love foreigners. He's good.
Yeah, well, how do you get Worcester out of Worcestershire anyway?
I just wanted to point out that his father was the greatest Gramsci scholar in the whole world. He edited all the volumes and wrote great articles and books about Gramsci, who has his own theory of common sense as something that is politically fought over. So he's got a lot of depth that is sort of hidden in the apparent, like he's just some nice guy.
Well, that's amazing. Who of us listened to our father? He obviously did.
Alas, I did.
I think we're there. Charlie, this is it. It's up to you. Charlie Gonzalez. And he is with Green Umbrella. And it has something to do with green, folks. Here we go. Tell us about green.
We don't fix umbrellas. We do have a green umbrella, yeah. I'll tell you more about how you can get one of the limited edition umbrellas that we do have. So who's familiar with Green Umbrella at all? Okay, so like maybe half and half. First, I want to thank Sue and your whole group for inviting me to come today and speak with you about our organization. Green Umbrella is the Greater Cincinnati region's sustainability alliance. And so what does that mean? We facilitate conversations and collaborative efforts around how to advance sustainability initiatives in our region. And so we bring together stakeholders who are members of our organization from the private sector, businesses, nonprofits, governmental agencies, and all in the same room talking about a specific topic and how can they advance that sustainability in that topic. So we've been around for 20 years. The organization was originally started by a bunch of people who were interested in raising awareness about nature and getting more people to enjoy nature and to get out into the natural world. And in 2011, we transitioned our structure and expanded our focus. And so we hired our first executive director back then, who many of you probably know, Brewster Rhodes, and he helped to sort of bring a foundation and expand our operations as an organization. So that's when we started adopting the collective impact model, which is a framework where the idea is that it's not to participate in the efforts is not it's not supposed to cause you more work. It's supposed to actually help you do the work that your organization or you personally are already passionate about. What's your mission, So under that collective impact model, we have 7 different action teams, and our action teams are organized by topic. So there's a watershed action team, there's a waste reduction action team, there's the outdoors action team, there's an energy action team, there is, this is good, I can just go off there's a green space action team, and there's a local food action team, and there's a transportation action team, so that should be 7. And then out of those action teams meet monthly, and they basically, it's a forum for people who work in this field from the different sectors, and concerned citizens, people who want, or young professionals who want to get into that field, because a lot of people have actually gotten jobs through these through Green Umbrella by networking in these opportunities. So at the action team meetings, they share information about what's going on in their field, what their organization's doing, any events, any jobs, similar to what the announcements here in the beginning. And then they focus on collaborative efforts to advance, if it's watershed. How can we develop projects that will enhance the sustainability and the resilience of our watershed? Out of those grassroots, volunteer-led action teams come different initiatives. So if a project takes steam and it builds momentum, then it might. Thank you. I have to talk like this, right? Then it might become an offshoot, which has a staff-funded position. So we currently have 3 initiatives, and the initiatives are our staffed programming. So out of the local food focus, we have the Greater Cincinnati Regional Food Policy Council, which is kind of a mouthful. But basically, Michaela Oldfield is the director of that program, and the council meets monthly to advance the food policy in our region. And one of the big wins that the Food Policy Council had recently, for a couple years they've been working on bringing the GFPP, which everybody loves acronyms, right? The Good Food Purchasing Program. And so they've been working with a lot of, as a coalition with a lot of groups in the region, dedicated on bringing this policy to Cincinnati. And recently the Cincinnati Public School Board adopted this policy into their purchasing. So what that means is our kids are going to get better, healthier food, and there's going to be more local sourcing.
Adopted in principle.
I'm sorry?
Adopted in principle.
Yes, the details are going to be fleshed out more. Then the second initiative is that I'll talk about is the Tri-State Trails, which is a regional trails alliance. So they advocate. Wade Johnson is the director of that program, and he is basically they also meet monthly with people from all different sectors and a lot of governmental agencies to expand our regional trail network. And so this is hiking trails, biking trails, and I think they're going to start looking at water trails as well. And but they've done a lot of great work, and I have some literature here from that they've developed. If you want to look at the maps of the trail and different statistics of who rides these trails and the impact that they have. And then there's also one within the city of Cincinnati called Crown, and this is an initiative to connect all of the trails within Cincinnati and build trails that connect all of these little fragments so that we can crown the queen. And then the third initiative, which is really exciting and is our newest one, was just launched at the end of 2018. It's called the Cincinnati 2030 District. And so we officially became after about a year of dedicated work by a group of strong-minded volunteers to bring, we became the 21st official Cincinnati 2030 district in the country. And what a 2030 district means is that you get together, the members of the district are building owners, property owners, and property managers who are committed to reducing the carbon footprint of their building by 50% by 2030. So the downtown central business district is our 2030 district, and that's phase 1. We have plans to expand into. We have regional partners like the zoo, so we're planning to expand in future phases out to expand the footprint. But we currently have about 20 members of this district, including P&G and Kroger and the city of Cincinnati, the Contemporary Arts Museum, the Underground Railroad Museum. So there's a lot of big players, Nair Properties. There's a lot of people who are involved in this, and it's very exciting. It's at the very formative stages. So look for more from that in the future. We are a member-based organization, so we currently have there's a few hundred member organizations. So you can join either as an individual or you can join as an organization. And there's if you're joined as an individual, as a student it's only $15 a year, and as a non-student, the basic membership starts at just $35. And so what that membership means is that you are part of our movement. You're supporting the work that we do, and you want to, and then you have the ability to also participate, and be engaged. So you can come and participate on the action teams. You get a discount on our events. We actually have a couple of big events that we do every year. So in the summer, in June, we have the Midwest Regional Sustainability Summit, which is held at Xavier in the Cintas Center. And I highly encourage you to check that out. It's an all-day conference, and we bring in great keynote speakers and panelists. You can learn more about things that are happening here in the region, and also best practices outside of our region that we might adopt here. So this year's theme is about the opportunities in the new sustainable economy. So, and there's many opportunities if we start adopting sustainability. Sustainability is not just, a lot of people have this idea that sustainability is about, it's going to cost you more money, and it's just about like recycling but really sustainability touches on everything. Everything is connected to sustainability. It's about changing the way we think, to think more holistically and integrated, to think of things in terms of systems, and the repercussions that one action might have on everything else. And so it's really about operational efficiency. It's about increasing your bottom line by reducing the amount of wasted energy, into value, transforming that waste into value, so there's a lot of opportunities for every person and every organization or business to adopt sustainability principles to become more resilient in their daily operations, in their daily life. Our staff is very small. We just expanded last year from 4 staff to 6. So we have, but our membership, we have about 900 members. And like I said, so you can be a member as an individual or as an organization. If your organization becomes a member, then the staff members in the staff for your organization or your core team, the membership benefits also extend to them. So they can be a member underneath that sort of bundle for the organization. We are currently going through a strategic planning process this year, so it's a very exciting time period to get involved. Like I had mentioned, the action teams came about in 2011, and back then all of the goals that were set for each of the action teams were set for 2020. So each action team has a goal for what they wanted to achieve by 2020 that they've been working towards, and now that 2020 is right around the corner, we want to set new goals. And in that process, we are also looking at how do we evolve as an organization, and how do we be more effective, how do we have a bigger impact collectively. So, how am I doing on time? I think I probably have a lot of time. Okay. I will... Maybe I should take a second and talk a little bit more about some of the things that each of the action teams have been working on. So, the local food action team has been extremely productive over the years. They did a comprehensive evaluation of our local food system in 2012, and they're about to do a refresh and update that to see the progress we've made and to adjust what their focus is going to be moving forward. But there's been a huge increase in the amount of local food produced and consumed. One of their big initiatives is called the 10% Shift Pledge. So you can pledge that to shift 10% of your food purchasing to local. And then you get a monthly newsletter that gives you tips on how to help you do that. And as part of our local procurement production efforts, we have there's a couple of local food hubs that have started up, which are members of Green Umbrella. So there's Our Harvest, and there's the Local Food Connection, which used to be called Ohio Valley Food Connection. And what they do is they aggregate produce from all different local producers and help to then distribute it to residents and businesses and institutions. So now, one of the things that they really want to do in the food movement is figure out how do we get local small producers into the institutional supply chain, because it's so difficult to get in there. And that's where GFPP, sort of the Good Food Purchasing Program, also sort of ties in there. The Green Space Action Team works on preserving green space and highlighting the green spaces that we have in our region. So we have a program called Green Space Gems, where we highlight throughout the year different gems that we have in our region. And I think the current one that we're highlighting is Sharon Woods. The local food, we talked about that. The Watershed Action Team has a really cool initiative that they started this past year, which they're calling Project Mullet. And the idea of Project Mullet is, we have so much grass, right? And a lot of these big institutions have like acres and acres of grass that they mow really short all the time. Maybe they don't have to mow all the grass. Maybe they can keep it short in the front, long in the back, right? So it creates more habitat. It's better for the ground to sequester carbon, to have infiltrate water and retain it. And there's less maintenance for those institutions. And then that's sort of like an entry point. From there, if institutions can install a rain garden. So they did their first pilot installation at Gamble Montessori in the fall, and with the help of Mary Dudley, who's one of the teachers there. And they had volunteers from the Mill Creek Alliance Green Corps and Hamilton County and various organizations coming together to install this rain garden with kids. And it was a big success. So they're looking to pilot that, to expand that pilot program into maybe 3 or 4 more schools this year. The Waste Reduction Action Team, a few years ago their focus was reducing paper. And then they transitioned their primary focus to reducing the amount of food waste that goes to the landfill. Did you know that 40% of the food that we produce gets wasted across the supply chain? And can you imagine the impact that has on how much water is consumed and how much soil is degraded and how much petroleum is used to produce that food and to transport it all around so that then we can send it to the landfill? And this is a global issue that is very predominant right now. There's a lot of focus in this area. In third world countries, you find that it's generally on the supply side of things. You know, they don't have the proper equipment to transport and keep the food fresh from farm to get to the distribution centers. They don't have refrigeration and stuff. But here, we have all of that, right? So in first world countries, you find it more on the consumer side. So certainly there's waste all along the supply chain, and Kroger has this new, as one of the pioneers with this new Zero Hunger, Zero Waste initiative. I don't know if you've heard about that, but they recently presented at our Waste Reduction Action Team this past Friday on their innovation fund, which is, I believe, $10 million that they have available for grant funding for innovative startups and organizations who have ideas for how we can, disrupt the amount of waste that's in the system. And one of the things that our Waste Reduction Action Team is doing is we have someone who's our share table ambassador. And so Susan Jorgensen, she's going out and working with all these different high schools and middle schools to implement share tables, which basically what that means is, the kids get all sorts of food, right, that they're given, and they don't eat it all. So a lot of it just goes in the trash bin. If it's closed, right, like an unopened carton of milk or a whole piece of fruit, then the school can leave it on if the school has one of these tables, they can leave it on the table for somebody else who might want to eat it. So so there's been some really good success with a few of the schools in the region adopting that, and we want to continue to expand that program as well. The Outdoor Action Team organizes our Great Outdoor Weekend, which is our other big event. So I mentioned the Sustainability Summit, which is going to be June 14th, if you want to mark your calendar. And the other one is every year at the end of the last weekend in September is Great Outdoor Weekend. And this is a lot of fun. This is where we bring together 100+ organizations that are part of our members, who are organizations like Cincinnati Parks and Great Parks of Hamilton County and REI and all these groups that are engaged in our outdoor action team, which is about getting people outdoors, right? Like I said, was our original focus 20 years ago. So these are free events, family-friendly opportunities for you to get outdoors and experience the abundance of nature that this is one of the perks that Cincinnati has. Did you know that one of the things that makes Cincinnati the most sustainable region in the country? We won 2 years in a row by Site Selections magazine. And one of the things that makes us such a sustainable region is that I believe it's about 90% of the residents, it's over 80% of the residents, have green space within a mile, within like a 15-minute walk. They can be in green space, protected green space, or parkland, somewhere to hike, to experience nature, to get fresh air. So Great Outdoor Weekend is a great opportunity for you to participate, to get involved, to engage with some of our members, to get out and about, and to have some fun with your family. Which ones did I miss? Transportation Action Team, they have a hard time in our region, but they continue to work diligently on how can we expand multimodal opportunities so that we can, in our region, to get more people to be able to get from their home to their work, right, to job centers, to expand our transit system, to get more bikes, Red Bike, to get more buses, better buses. So like the Better Bus Coalition just became an official member recently, and they're the ones that have been doing a lot of grassroots work to go out and put park benches. They physically went and would put benches at all these different bus stops that didn't have any infrastructure. And they're kind of just pushing the envelope, and Metro is a member also. So we have these diverse stakeholders sitting at the table and figuring out how can we work together and collaborate to advance our collective mission. And the Energy Action Team, I think, is the one I didn't mention yet. They've done a lot of cool things. One of which is there's the MLS, like for real estate, has like listing, the listing service. They created, I believe, 88 different new features that you can assign to your home that are green features. So these are features that say that your home is a high-performance home. So what does that mean? It probably means that your home has more value, right? And there are people on the market who are looking for homes that are more efficient and that have these types of features. So I find that really exciting, and we're going to be expanding the marketing around that this year, so that more people know about it, and more people in the real estate industry know how to sell high-performance homes, because this is such a new thing. So let's see. Okay, I will make an announcement. Every month we have a networking event, which is free to attend. It's called Green Drinks. It's usually held at a different bar. And each month it rotates with a different action team or initiative that's hosting it, so you can sort of get to know that action team a little bit better. And it's a great opportunity for people who are just looking to network and get more involved or learn more about the sustainability initiatives in the region.
This is what he's talking about.
This month we are doing something different than the normal thing, than what we traditionally would do at a bar. And we are combining the green drinks with a potluck and conversation with someone that we are bringing in from Denver. And we're co-hosting a 2-day workshop with this guy. His name's Adam Brock, and he is a social permaculturist. And so what does that mean? That he has written a book called Change Here Now, and this book is a toolkit that he has designed to take ecological principles and transform them into ways that we can be more effective social change makers. And so this 2-day workshop, which is going to be this Thursday and Friday, we are co-hosting that with our offices in a nonprofit hub in Madisonville with Starfire Council and Design Impact and a bunch of other great nonprofits. and we're co-hosting this 2-day workshop, which we're going to kick off the night before. So Wednesday night is going to be green drinks and the potluck. So if you want to come, it's free. The potluck's free. The 2-day workshop is $50. So we're basically just, want to make sure that this is accessible to organizations and people who, because we feel like it's a really valuable set of tools for anybody who does change work where they're trying to do social change or collaborations, which is pretty much everything, right? So how do we forge more effective collaborations? And so I invite you to come to our office headquarters this Wednesday from, I believe you just passed these out. These flyers are coming around with some more information. And my role, I don't think I really introduced myself, I'm the communications and membership coordinator. So what does that mean? I have two kind of big hats, right? On the communications side, I keep my pulse on all of the activities that each of these action teams and initiatives and member organizations are doing, and the general sustainability progress in the region. And then I broadcast that through our newsletter, which goes out every 2 weeks to about 5,000 people, and to our which is called Green News You Can Use. And actually, this is probably one of the more important things I could pass around. If you are interested in getting this newsletter, which comes once every 2 weeks, please write legibly your email address, because that will greatly enhance the ability for us to actually get the newsletter to you, if you write your email address legibly. But this newsletter compiles news stories, current news stories in our region related to sustainability. It highlights we have some spotlights of key things that we want to highlight, cool things our members and action teams are up to. It has an events calendar, which is comprehensive. Our website, we have a comprehensive events calendar where all of our members, this is one of the perks of being a member, you can submit your job announcements, your volunteer opportunities, professional development opportunities, and events. And we populate them on our website, and we feature them in the newsletter. The green jobs section is probably one of the more looked at sections of the newsletter. So this is a great way for people to get a job in a sustainable mindset. I think that's pretty good. I'm going to open it up to some questions, because I'd like there to be some more dialogue anyway, and for us to have some more time for questions. And I apologize that I do have to leave at 1, so we still have 20 minutes.
When you talk about the rain gardens piece, I was wondering if somebody wanted to have a rain garden, could they learn how to do that through your group? And how do you know if you need a rain garden?
That's a great question. I'll start with the second part. Our region is going to feel minimal impacts to climate change compared to other parts of the world. Right? We don't have to worry about the sea level rising or droughts anytime soon. But we get a lot of flooding. And we already get that. So my perspective is, whether or not man is involved in changing the climate, we can do things better. We can have more resilience. And in order to have a resilient infrastructure, we need to be able to handle the rain when it falls on the ground, right? What happens is and this is a problem that most cities have. You pave and pave and pave, and the city expands, and you pave more impervious surfaces down, and then the rain has no way to absorb into the ground. And it overflows the sewer system every time it rains. And it overflows into poor people's basements every time it rains. Sewers, right?
Because we have a combined.
Because it's a combined sewer system, right? This is a huge problem that our region has faced, and it's a multi-billion-dollar problem that MSD is under federal consent decree to address. And so they've been doing a lot of great work to install both green and gray infrastructure. And one of the ways that everybody can participate in this effort to prevent our sewage from going into the river, prevent people's basements from getting sewage in them, and flooding in general, is to install rain barrel at your house, right? And a rain garden. And people know what a rain garden is?
No.
Okay. So, a rain garden, people know what a rain barrel is? All right, so I'll start there, right? Entry point, right? First you start with the rain barrel, right? You put the barrel, catch the rain that's coming off your roof, so that when you water your lawn or your garden, you don't have to pay for water. You already have the water that fell on your property. And all of that water you captured isn't going into somebody's basement. So then the next step, phase 2, is you take out maybe a little bit of grass, right? And you start making your landscape more natural, and more interesting. You dig down and you put some rocks and things to make it pervious, right? So that it can infiltrate into the ground and absorb more water. And you're basically making a temporary pond, right? So that when it rains, this part of your yard fills up catches the water so it doesn't run off into the street and the sewer system and the neighbor's property and take all your soil with it, right? And these have multiple functions. So they can also you plant native plants in there too, and a lot of those can be pollinator food. Habitat and food for pollinators. So this is another big area that the challenge we're facing right now is the insects that we rely on to pollinate our food. They don't have enough habitat because we've destroyed a lot of their habitat with industrial monoculture farms and development. So if you can give them a little respite in your yard by creating a pollinator/rain garden, that greatly helps our ecosystems in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I went Thursday to this Orosenko hearing, and although I spoke twice, I was not clear about exactly what was at stake. After the whole meeting, they handed out a 62-page text with some red in it and so forth. But I'm just curious, what's the best way to find out what's really at stake going on there and be involved? They were pleased for more and more public hearings, and as I said, people came from 3 hours away. It was in many ways a very moving event, but I also felt it was very hard to get a clear picture of what was actually at stake.
I'm glad you brought that up. So Orosenko is a commission that oversees, that was started 70 years ago, and it's multiple states, all the states along the Ohio River participate in this commission, and they created these standards, pollution control standards, that because, for various reasons, the board last year voted to remove the standards. And Orosenko is actually a Green Umbrella member, and some of their staff participate in our Watershed Action Team, and they do great work. And our members of our action team were rightly concerned about the removing, especially at this time, right, politically, in the political environment and environmentally, removing these standards for all these states along the Ohio River. So they carefully crafted a statement that they put out recommending that the standards remain. And this is pretty much what I was at that hearing too, and pretty much every single person got up to speak. It was unanimous that everybody wanted the standards to remain. Now, and what came out of that was, which I'm sure the board already knew going into it, was okay, we're going to listen to everybody, and then we're going to postpone this because we have a change in the proposal. So they have a new proposal. To answer your question about how to stay involved on that, I'm sure that as it progresses, we will continue to feature it in our newsletter. But you can also go to one of the Watershed Action Team meetings if you're really passionate about this particular topic, and you can get on the Watershed. Each action team has their own email list, so so then you would be in the loop about that particular topic and when those meetings are happening and different things going on there.
I was just going to mention something along those lines. I serve on the Transportation Action Team. And I did serve on the local food action team. I chaired in 2011, when Green Umbrella expanded, it was because the Green Cincinnati plan was going into its second iteration, and we handed over to Green Umbrella the responsibility for creating that plan in 2012, I guess it was. So all those action teams, most of them were inherited from the original Green Cincinnati plan teams, and then new ones were added as well. One of the reasons transportation has such a problem is the same reason green space is doing so well. It's the topography of Cincinnati. With so many hills, we have a lot of places where it's difficult to build on, thankfully. And so we have a lot more green space than most cities. It's not necessarily because we were so forward-thinking in our planning, although we were at a time. One thing I do want to bring up, all these different action teams, energy, outdoors, watershed, transportation and waste reduction, only the food one is called local. It doesn't say local transportation, it doesn't say local energy. And the problem, and the reason I resigned from the local food action team, is about 3% of food's environmental impact has to do with where it's coming from, and the rest has to do with what it is. And the food choices were not something the local food action team was interested in dealing with. They were almost entirely populated by local producers and local distributors who were essentially, honestly, feathering their own nests by trying to increase the amount of local food produced and consumed, which is fine. It's a good goal, but it's not the only thing to deal with food. And I really urge you to bring the message back to them, to take local off and have food, energy, transportation, waste all be equal so that they can deal with, frankly, the counterproductive efforts to increase the amount of local dairy farming and local meat production are environmentally counterproductive. So I think it's really something that needs to be looked at. But as far as if you do have an interest and you have some expertise in one of these areas and you want to get involved, that's all I did. I got involved and got absorbed onto one of the teams, and you can have input and be part of it.
Thank you. Yeah, I will take that feedback back, and I agree with a lot of what you said, and have constructive dialogue about some of the rest that we can continue that another time.
You mentioned before about your going to work with real estate or whoever they are, about inspection of the houses. So how do you know, I'm not selling my house, so how do I know what level my house is at if I wanted to talk to somebody now to make it more efficient? That's
another good question. So the person who is focalizing this effort, her name is Beth Robeson, and I would probably, if you were to write to me, I would forward your email, connect you with her, because she's the one who would know the most about the specifics. And I believe she works in that industry and could connect you with somebody who can identify, and with a list of what all these different 88 features are, so that you can see more specifics. Yeah. And my email address is just charlie@greenumbrella.org.
The initiative, of course, that you mentioned that. The initiative to source local foods has become quite accepted, I believe, locally, and certainly within, it's used as a marketing tool for a lot of restaurants and whatnot. But to what extent are there efforts to direct healthy food and foods to low-income areas? Last I heard, I could be wrong on this, but I think Kroger closed one of the last of their stores, and maybe it was on Vine, I believe. So I think this would be a really good tie-in, even from a sustainability standpoint, particularly in terms of when you think about all the food waste and whatnot. But there have to be many avenues. So is this part of your purview, and is this something that your organization would be involved in?
Yes, we are very much involved in working to solve that problem. One of the members, so the food team and the Food Policy Council work on access and distribution as well as land use and production. So there's, how can we, and I would say that while, that probably the Food Policy Council is doing more work, but both groups work sort of hand in hand, right? And so there's people like organizations like Produce Perks, which are on the Food Policy Council, which actually got incubated through Green Umbrella, and that is they match low-income dollars for fresh produce, so you get 2-for-1 value at local markets, and then we work with Gary Dangle in Walnut Hills, who's the Healthy Food Outreach Coordinator. And he is doing some really innovative things to address the Kroger moving out of Walnut Hills issue, and how can they adaptive reuse of that building and create a resilient community food system. And actually, I am going to be speaking on a panel with Gary and another member of our council who's very active, Alan White, who's working, he's from UC and and Christ College of Nursing, and he does food mapping projects all around the city. So he goes into neighborhoods with teams of residents and students, and they all map out all of the edible things in the landscape. And they've created these beautiful maps of each different neighborhood. So, and he's focused on increasing the amount of edible landscaping and urban orchards, and so between the two of them, I think we're going to have a really good dialogue at the neighborhood summit, which is coming up in March, and that is going to be the theme this year for the neighborhood summit is resilience. So there's going to be a lot of interesting sessions, and that'll be one of them. But yes, we do focus a lot on food access, healthy food access, and addressing this issue of food deserts.
Right here.
I'm a card-carrying member of the Green Umbrella. I want to plug the Midwest Sustainability Summit. It is wonderful. They have great speakers. Last year they had Catherine Hayhoe. If you look her up on YouTube, she's dynamite. Midwest Sustainability Summit. It sells out fast. So get in there. It's really worth it. We mentioned gathering a mini umbrella of people for a conglomerate membership. If anybody's interested here in doing that, maybe we can get something going through this group. Everything is so connected. Food. I saw a documentary about sugar, which was fantastic, and everything is so related. It's our planet Earth that we're talking about.
Thank you, and you're right. The capacity is about 400, and we've been at capacity the past couple of years. The previous year to Catherine Hayhoe last year was who's a famous climate scientist, was Van Jones, who was also great. So we've had, and before that was Paul Hawkins. So we have really great keynote speakers and plenary panels. This year we are bringing in Andrew Winston, who is the best-selling author of The Big Pivot and From Green to Gold. And so he's going to help us with the, focus this theme of opportunities in the new economy.
Repeat what it is.
It's the Midwest Regional Sustainability Summit.
When?
It's June 14th, which is a Friday, and it's all day at the Cintas Center on Xavier's campus. And registration opens February 25th on our website. And we are also looking for sponsors and exhibitors.
Could you say the date?
June 14th.
Thank you. I want to comment about the rain barrels because I tried doing this a few years ago, and I believe within the city limits of Cincinnati, it requires some kind of permitting. It's a matter of mosquito control because there's a lot of health effort given to reducing the mosquito population because of the diseases they carry. increasing the number of individual rain barrels counters that kind of effort, unless there's an additional effort to have these rain barrels inspected and permitted. That might include licensing. I don't think it does.
This is the first I'm hearing of it. I'll look into that. My impression is that there is no permitting or no licensing necessary, but mosquito control is obviously something that you want to consider when you're installing a rain barrel, and same thing with compost. If you're going to have a compost pile in your backyard, you want to do it in a way where it's not going to create a nuisance for you or your neighbors. So there are best practices for each one of these things that you can do in your own life.
So I do gardening when I have free time, and the thing you said about native plants really stuck with me because I used to go to the big box stores and get things, and they get their stock from hothouses down in the south. They can get whatever kind of plants they want. It doesn't mean they're good to plant here. So I'm wondering if there's any kind of effort to educate people about, make sure you're buying plants that are native, because you have no idea, what kind of pests or, the stuff we've got with the kudzu down south, that was because we brought over a non-native species. So if we could educate people more about buying native plants, I'm on board.
Definitely. Yeah, I'm a big proponent of this as well. And we have some of our members. We have a lot of members who can help with gardening and permaculture consultations and services. The Cincinnati Permaculture Institute is a member of ours, and they do phenomenal work to educate people in permaculture principles. And they have a lot of people who've gone through their program who are consultants. And the Civic Garden Center is another member who they always have educational workshops and different plant sales and events like that where you can learn more about that. But yes, and even if it's ornamental, and even if it's not going to be like an annual that you're planting in your garden, if you want to start looking at perennials, if you want to start doing, what kind of trees should I plant? Don't plant the calorie pear tree, which is an ornamental pear tree that's invasive, that's not from our region, right? So because these types of things, which are still allowed on the market and you can go to a nursery and buy, are destructive to our ecology in our region. And it's creating a problem, because then when the birds eat that fruit and they poop out the seeds down, in the park, then you get invasive species that take over the park. So.
I was unable to go to the Orsenco meeting. I don't understand why Orsenco wants to let go of the regulations.
Sure.
Thank you very much. The regulations. What is their?
So I'm not qualified to be a spokesperson for why, but my understanding, general understanding, is that there are a handful of different reasons regarding some of the standards were redundant because a lot of the. So basically, my understanding is the standards were recommendations for all the states along the river, and so then the states adopted their own standards, and some of them exceed or a little bit less than the Orsenco standards. And so I guess they thought that this was a little bit redundant and didn't have enough teeth, and they didn't have enough staff to sort of do anything to try to enforce it. So I think those were just some of the general reasons, as far as my understanding. Do you have more?
Yeah. My understanding was the argument is that the Federal Clean Water Act was all that was necessary, and the point I tried to make and many others did is that the actual states are so controlled by fossil fuel corruptors that you can't trust the states at all. That one attraction of Orsenco is that it at least had a chance of being genuinely independent and caring about its job instead of the polluters who are buying state reps.
Right.
This will be the last question.
We have one more back there.
Okay, maybe we can squeeze two in if you can stay for two questions.
I can stay for 2 questions.
A short one. Is there a reason, or possibly, the city-funded urban gardening, is it popular or not? And if not, why?
It is popular. And I'm glad you brought that up because it's another one of the things that we put a lot of effort into on the Food Policy Council that I was personally involved in was, and some of this stemmed from, I found out that I wanted to do community scale composting where instead of everybody having to have their own composting in their backyard, we can do it at, on our block or whatever, have a place where we can all bring our compost and maintain it collectively. And I found out that within the city boundaries, that's illegal. You can't bring your food waste, your organic waste, off your parcel to another parcel. So I wanted to change that. And in the process of raising awareness about that and trying to change that, it became a much bigger thing as far as like a comprehensive overhaul of the entire city zoning policy. All the zoning that might relate to urban gardening and farming. And how can we, and it was actually a really great productive process where different people from different silos within the different departments within the government, all in the same room, talking about how to work together so that there isn't conflicting issues, right, or redundant issues. And then we had meetings with different stakeholders, all the gardeners and the farmers and people who are involved in this type of work in the region, to get their input in the process. And the process was really awesome for as far as like what our system of governance could be, as far as participatory governance and how we can be more effective. And then it got held up. So we're sort of very close to the end goal with changing this with this comprehensive zoning change, and we just have to get it past the goalpost, and we're hoping that that's going to happen within the next few months. Yeah, but there is a big focus in expanding, and the city has a grant program.
Do they need more money?
Yes, of course. Yeah, farmers definitely need more money. It's not an easy industry to compete in.
Urban gardening.
Oh yeah, yeah, and viable land. Oh no, there was one more question.
She doesn't have it anymore.
Oh okay. Sure. And did everybody get whatever handouts they wanted? I have a few more of these if you want a blanket one. And
Let's hear it for Charlie. Thank you so much for being here. We've done it again, folks. You have spent a lovely luncheon getting educated, and now there's more. Come back next week. We have Julie Lemaster with the Immigrant and Refugee Law Center. I have gone to this place with a student and it's a very sad story. I mean, we've got people living under the shadows here in Cincinnati. So come back next week for Julie Lemaster, their new program at Xavier University. Come on back. Thank you for being here.